You ever wake up knowing your day's about to get sideways before you even roll out of bed? That was me staring at the ceiling, just wanting one slow morning. But instead, I got a racket. Dogs barking, gravel crunching something way too lively for sunrise. I dragged myself outside, still wearing a flannel robe, thinking maybe a coyote wandered too close. What do I see? My honey shed wide open shelves almost stripped bare. Dozens of jars gone. My honey, my pride, the thing that keeps me sane and pays a few bills every year, just missing. And who's standing at the end of my driveway, Karen? Oh, you know the type. The sort of neighbor whose pearls rattle louder than her voice. Sunglasses before breakfast clipboard welded to her arm, and the kind of smile that makes you check your wallet. She's got her trunk popped on her shiny white SUV, loading up jars like she's finishing her grocery run. When I call out, she just waves all sing-song, "Oh, don't worry, John. The HOA will make good use of this." Then she drives off, tires squealing, and I'm left holding a fistful of air, shaking with that kind of slow-burning rage you get when life serves up pure nonsense. Now, I'll tell you, I know a few black bears like to wander that tree line behind my place, and right then, looking at those empty shelves, I get this idea. A little payback nature's way. But before we get lost in the weeds, where are you watching from? Is it as wild over there as it is here? Go ahead. Drop your state. Drop your story. Because if you've ever lived with an HOA, you already know there's always one. In my case, her name was Karen Mitchell, and she ran the cul-de-sac like it was her personal kingdom. She'd been acting president ever since the last guy quit, probably from exhaustion, if you ask me. The woman patrolled in pastels, always armed with a new rule violation and a look that said you were guilty until proven neighborly. I'd been fined for my mailbox, my trash bins, even my barn. She claimed the paint was too historical. Apparently 200 years of barn red didn't match her preferred palette. That's Karen for you. She never could tell the difference between my and ours. And for the most part, I learned to tune her out. You know, smile, nod, let her talk, then go about my business. But my bees, that was the last straw. See, I got into beekeeping after retiring from teaching biology. Picked up a few hives, set them out back, way past the lot lines. I'd followed every zoning rule, every page in that HOA handbook, even the ones that read like they were written by a caffeine-addled lawyer at 2 a.m. Still, Karen found reasons to complain. The bees make my flowers sticky. They're aggressive to my cat, she'd say, never mind the time her cat clawed open a hive and got stung for the trouble. That's what you call natural consequences, if you ask me. Anyway, that morning, seeing her drive away with my honey, I wanted to chase her down, call the sheriff, make a scene. But I didn't. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was that nagging feeling the law wasn't built to protect folks like me from people like her. So I just stood there in the sticky golden mess, breathing in the smell of lost summer, and I decided to play the long game. By late afternoon, Karen's strutting down the street, waving to neighbors, basking in her own self-importance. When she spots me, she's loud enough for the whole block. "John, your honey's delightful. The brunch committee just adored it." I could barely get the words out. "You mean the honey you stole?" She just cocks her head, all innocence, then spins up some line about shared produce like the HOA's a collective farm, and I should be grateful. That's the thing with folks like her. When they can't get their way with rules, they invent new ones. She even had the nerve to say, "The bees work for everyone." If there's one phrase I never want to hear again in my life, it's that. The bees work because I built those hives, tended them, risked getting stung on hot days while everyone else was inside watching TV. The HOA didn't buy a single jar lid, let alone scrape a comb. But you can't reason with a rock. Over the next few days, it got worse. Karen starts handing out my honey at HOA meetings, putting her own label on the jars, HOA Local Gold. Someone even posted a picture online, Karen posing with my jars like she'd struck oil. I thought about calling the cops, but what were they going to do? Arrest her for honey rustling? Right. She had half the board in her pocket, and the other half too tired to care. So I sat and thought. I remembered all her stunts over the years, the mailbox fine, the bird feeder ban, the endless emails, and I remembered Bear Hollow, that stretch of woods out back. Every summer, black bears wandered through, mostly looking for snacks. They never hurt anyone, but if you left out something sweet, they'd sniff it out. I watched the tree line from my porch, thinking nature always finds a way to balance things out. Next morning, I'm out by the hives, bees humming, minding their own business. I see Karen's SUV again, trunk open, her stuffing in more jars. When she notices me watching, she tries the same excuse. Just taking a few more for the gift baskets. I don't answer. I just stare until she slams the trunk and leaves. That was the moment I stopped being mad, started being patient. Sometimes you gotta let the world do your fighting. That night I cleaned out a few old honey buckets, set them by the tree line. Didn't bait the bears, just let the smell drift. A breeze picked up, carrying that scent right where it needed to go. And for the first time since Karen stole from me, I felt calm. Because I knew sooner or later nature was going to give a lesson in boundaries. Didn't take long. Next day, Karen's hosting a brunch, big affair, HOA royalty all gathered. She's got my honey jars out like trophies, even made new labels. Karen's Honey Bliss. You couldn't write a better script. The wind carried that scent right into the woods. 20 minutes later, here comes a bear, big and slow nose up, heading straight for the buffet. Karen shrieks, guests scatter, someone yells, call animal control. Meanwhile, the bear's too busy licking honey off her white tablecloth to care. Another bear ambles in. Someone dives behind a hedge. I'm behind my fence, barely keeping it together. Karen grabs a hose, sprays water, hits everyone but the bears. Shoo! This is private property! She screams, and that's it. I lose it. Watching her try to enforce HOA rules on wild bears is probably the best entertainment I'll ever have. Eventually, the bears wander off, and all that's left is a yard in shambles and an HOA queen without a crown. Later, the police show up. They shrug, tell her to call wildlife services next time. I sit on my porch sipping tea, feeling lighter than I have in years. For once, the HOA can't write a bylaw to stop what happened. That night, I'm replaying it all in my head. Karen soaked and sputtering, yelling at wildlife, her pearls swinging like a pendulum of karma. Word got out quick. Someone posted shaky phone footage, bears brunch and chaos, all in 3 glorious minutes. The comments are half jokes, half blame. Karen claims I provoked wildlife with my bees. Even tried to get my hives banned. She wasn't done. Showed up at my porch clipboard and all threatening to suspend my beekeeping privileges until further review. I told her straight, you stole my honey, Drew, and bears, and now I'm the problem. Her smile curdled. Watch your tone, John. The HOA handbook, I cut her off, doesn't outrank the state wildlife code, and it sure doesn't make theft legal. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not fear exactly, maybe just the realization her grip was slipping. She spun on her heel, spat some warning about the board dealing with me. I just sat there grinning like a man who knows the punchline. But Karen doesn't let go. That night I set out a few more treats, leftover honeycomb, a handful of old apples, even a couple of her lavender-scented trash bags. Bears, turns out, have a nose for lavender. I laid out a trail near her fence along the path, just subtle enough to guide the next furry visitors right where they'd be appreciated most. The very next day, she's hosting a yoga session in her backyard. Candles, mats, a little circle of HOA ladies chanting about inner peace. You can guess what happens. 3 bears follow the trail, push through her unlocked gate, and suddenly it's not a yoga retreat, it's a wildlife documentary. Karen panics, her guests scatter, and the bears just help themselves to the lemon slices and herbal tea. Another 5 minutes of beautiful chaos. Then they're gone, and Karen's left clutching her yoga mat like it's a shield. At the emergency HOA meeting that followed, even her allies were rolling their eyes. Maybe the bears like honey, someone joked. This isn't about honey, it's about safety, Karen snapped. She called for removing my hives, banning compost, even putting up alarms. Nothing passed. That night, she accused me of making her look crazy. I told her, you don't need my help for that. A few days later, a violation sign pops up in my yard, unsafe structure, wildlife attractant. Karen's across the street watching like she's just conquered Rome. I walk over. Karen, take it down. She shrugs. Out of my hands. The board voted. I say, Karen, you are the board. She just leans in and says, so are you. It was clear she'd never quit. So I got ready. Trail cameras aimed at the fence line, new sensors, even set a decoy hive up front to see if she'd take the bait. And wouldn't you know, 3 nights later, there she is on camera, sneaking around in her pajamas, pouring my honey on the decoy and snapping photos, trying to frame me. At the next emergency HOA meeting, she holds up her phone. Proof that John's luring bears, I let her finish. then played my video on the projector. Karen, flashlight in hand, dousing the hive herself. The whole room erupts. She stammers something about doctoring video, but nobody's buying it. The violation sign is gone by morning. But she starts a new rumor: mutant bees contaminated honey. The bears will be back any day. I got tired of defense. Set out a small bucket of spoiled honey one last time. Sure enough, next night 2 bears wander through her yard, tip her trash knock over a gnome. She stands on the porch in a robe, waving a broom, yelling, "You're trespassing." I nearly fell out of bed laughing. Then comes the lawsuit. A fat envelope, Mitchell versus Harris. She's suing me for everything from property damage to emotional distress. My lawyer Lisa just laughs. She's suing you over bears, that's new. We start collecting footage, paperwork, everything by the book. A week later, Karen hosts another brunch, brags about her special honey blend online. I just watch as the bears make one more appearance. Dessert table destroyed. Karen lands in the punch bowl and the officers tell her again, it's her events, not my hives. Whole neighborhood starts calling it the Great Bear Brunch. Court day comes and Karen shows up with a neck brace and sunglasses, her lawyers sweating bullets. The judge is weary, old school, and not amused. Karen tries to sell him on the wild animal conspiracy: bees, pheromones, weaponized honey. Lisa calmly shows the security footage, the bear brunch video, the evidence trail. Judge almost laughs out loud. "Miss Mitchell, you're suing this man because bears came to your brunch which featured honey you took from him." Case dismissed. Karen storms out, rips off her brace, nearly bowls over the reporter. Outside, the neighbors greet me. "Justice is sweet," one says. That night, Karen's house is dark. Next morning, moving truck. She's gone before noon, didn't look at me, didn't wave, just barked orders at the movers and vanished down the street. The silence she left behind was better than any revenge I could have planned. A young couple bought her place. Teachers friendly, wanted to keep bees themselves. Life settled. The HOA calmed down. No more random fines, no more petty rules. We renamed the park to Cedar Grove again. A real community started to bloom. Now and then I find bear tracks by the hives just passing through. Sometimes I'll leave a jar of honey at the tree line, a little thanks for handling what I couldn't. And if you ask me what I learned from all this, control isn't power. Respect is. The bees work with you when you earn their trust, and sometimes the universe delivers justice with claws and a sweet tooth. So tell me, ever had your own Karen moment? Drop it below. Let's hear how you handled it. Because trust me, sometimes all you need is patience, good neighbors, and a little help from nature herself. And if you want more stories like this, stick around. The best is always yet to come.